Welcome to the ESR Redline Motorsports round. This is round 6 of the Winter Invitational Championship from the Slovakia ring, Divisions 2 and 3. With me, as always, is Byron Derksechhi. Say hello to the people.
What's up?
There we go. And joining us for the first time is Division 1 driver, last season's most improved driver, Knick.
Hello.
Don't call him Nick Scott. That's his cousin.
Though we probably will.
Actually, I've been calling you Sputnik in my head for a while.
Yeah, fair.
He has. I can verify this. We have, if memory serves, we have 23 cars on the grid, 6 prototypes, and the rest are GT3s. An interesting mix of GT3s from BMWs to some, of course, the Bentley of Cesar Maragno there. We have some Audis, we have some Mercedeses, we have a Mustang. Seriously, John Pacheco, the Mustang may not be the best choice, but continue on soldiering.
You know, I find this whole grid concept a bit too restrictive. I think it would be aiding people's creativity in driving if we went with more of a free-form kind of a thing.
That would be pure chaos.
That's what I'm saying.
And this is why you're not the race director.
Well, I think that I should direct some form of a race, because it would be hilarious.
Oh, Byron, how do you feel about your new title on the Discord server?
I like it. It's accurate.
I did put the idea that Virtuoso might be a better option, but they did not agree with my suggestion.
Well, I went, basically I just straight up demanded it in chat last night, and he went ahead and did it, but he made me pink, so I started putting up Pink Panther gifs, and then he quickly changed the pink to green, and then I changed it to Godzilla and started posting Godzilla shit.
We got 22 guys. Pole sitter for the prototypes is O'Leary. Pole sitter for the GT3s is Cesar Maragno. Of course, he's been absolutely dominant. And we are off.
No, they look like they're still on the track, though.
Well, they're on the track. And, whoa! Someone's off in a couple guys off in the sand trap. We've lost half of the prototypes.
Listen, this is racing, not farming. You don't need to plow that deep.
Look at all those cars moving around. Jesus Christ.
I don't think I can keep up.
Alright, so we have Enrique Hervas leading the way from Ewan O'Leary and Felipe Fajea. They are the 3 prototypes that escaped the not necessarily carnage, because there wasn't really any contact, but
no, they just went off the fucking track.
The gravel pit. The leading GT3 in the background is Chris Raymaker, with Guillaume Brisset in 2nd place and Mike Magasevic in 3rd place. We ride with Ewan O'Leary, who is making his ESR debut, I do believe, unless Knick can correct me and reveal that Ewan has been in races that I just wasn't at.
Yeah, I don't recall his name.
To the best of my knowledge, he appeared on Discord like last week, and I've been having Black Dynamite flashbacks the whole time.
I'm also wondering if he's somehow related to Mike O'Leary, but they are from different countries, so maybe.
He's from parts unknown.
Very tight battle here between the prototypes through Slovakia ring, which is an interesting track. I really enjoyed it. O'Leary is going for the pass on Enrique Hervas, and the camera cuts to Felipe Fajea for some reason. Someone fired the race director.
Correct. Well, I mean, you recorded this.
Nope. The auto director records this. I am in a race rig at this point, driving.
Well, obviously you need to build like 2 or 3 different race rigs and do all the recording and directing while you're also racing. I don't see another option.
I'm not the cyborg in ESR. That's the guy who's currently running in 18th place.
Jeez, bunch of nerds. Wait, why is the car man in 18th place? I thought he only
he was one of the
plays Raceroom.
He was one of the prototypes that flew off the track. Whoa! Speaking of off-the-track moments, Ewan O'Leary and Felipe Fajea having a little bit of a coming together there that ends with O'Leary somehow retaining 2nd place. But anyway, Steve Carman was one of the prototypes that went off the track, so he'll be climbing his way back through the grid into about 6th place or so without too much problem. Although it looks like Azar, the El Alamore, has gone off the track because he is tracking backwards behind Dave Slee, Lachlan Nichols, Joel Martinez, John Pacheco, Mike. He's basically going pretty much to the back of the pack by the looks of it. Not a very good start for Alvar Gomez Cuesta, who I think we may have lost from the race, judging by the growing gap there for the 22nd place car.
Well, he's just trying to make it fair for everybody else, and he's going to make a late stage comeback.
Maybe.
He's just saving fuel.
Just saving fuel.
He's actually pushing the car. It's fine.
He's Nigel Mansling it. We ride with John Pacheco, the current Division 3 championship leader, as he tracks down the Mercedes of Joel Martinez, who is pretty much the fastest guy in Division 3, but arrived late in the season to mount a proper championship comeback. And Australian Lachlan Nichols is tracking down Canadian Dave Slee.
My only question here is Lachlan in fact landlocked?
I imagine he is.
Asking the important questions as usual.
He does try.
These are key. We need to know. People need to know the answers to these questions. Lachlan, you'll answer the question. And I will give you like 2 days of me not reminding you that you hit me on your way into the pits.
Savage.
He'll never quite live that down, but I'm willing to give him 2 days. Brett Brooks, I'm assuming that's how that name is pronounced anyways, or Brette, I'm not sure. Ariel Zatoni, Dean Reimers in the mix here, as well as, of course, I believe that is Azar Alamore working his way through the field. Steve the Carman is up to 9th place, so he's carting his way through the GT3s like a
clearly
hot
cheating.
Knife through butter.
Clearly cheating, hacks.
The GT3 leader remains Chris Raymaker from Guillaume Brissett and Mike Magasevic. Rounding off the top 5 is Michael Jeffries and Dave Slee, and then this man, Lachlan Nichols.
Every time they go into a corner like that, I expect somebody to slam on the brakes and somebody else to get hit.
It's a valid fear. Whoa! Ariel Zatoni going a little bit wide, and that allows Mr. Andy Blade to cut through as he's coming through the grid with championship rivals Cesar Maragna.
The Blade cuts through. Very nice. Well played.
We have had a car fall down a lap that is the BMW of Fredericos Wagner. He does appear to still be running, though. Shout out to Byron's favorite man in the grid, Mr. Wagner, the master of the Dark Force.
Indeed. Man runs on hatred and anger and more hatred.
Andy Blade still cutting his way through the pack as he picks up a spot there over Mike O'Leary. Next up on his list is the battle between Joel Martinez and John Pacheco. We ride with Michael Jeffries for some unknown reason. Lachlan Nichols putting the pressure on Mike Magasevic and Azar Alamore cutting his way through there, and Dave Slee just ahead of them in the Lincoln Park Mercedes. That is the Lincoln Park Mercedes, by the way, Byron, in the silver and red.
And in the end, it just won't even matter.
That's true. We ride with Michael O'Leary, who appears to have lost a couple of spots and has slipped down to 19th position ahead of Dean Reimers, the Australian Echo Hitman. And somebody kicked up some dirt there. It looks like it's Dave Slee as he's flying way back through the grid.
He gone.
And Andy Blade looking to pick up another spot here against John Pacheco. Desperate to stay ahead, of course, championship rival Cesar Maragna, the absolute dominant man in Division 2. The Scott Knick of this season, if I may say.
Andy Blade, well known as being from the most sexist place in the world, Manchester.
They're ganging up on the Hello Kitty car.
That's a whole other kind of video.
Whoa! Who just kind of took himself out of the way there. Okay. Cesar Maragna has taken Andy Blade, and Mike O'Leary's putting the pressure on the Mustang of John Pacheco, the championship leader of Division 3.
Sputnik, feel free to launch yourself into the conversation at any time. It's just shout over me.
Yeah, I have a few times, but you're so loud.
I can't help it. I am all jacked up on the race fuel.
Andy Blade is now on the tail of Cesar Morano. They're coming up to the aforementioned Frederico Wagner, the master of the dark side of the Force.
Yo.
Scott, Nick, did you watch the video where we declared that Mr. Wagner was the master of the dark side of the Force?
I seem to recall that vaguely. What was that all about?
He basically
Missing
finished,
like 90% of his car.
he's kept going despite the fact that in all laws of physics, biology, and chemistry, that car should not have been moving.
Like, I was out at least 2 tires. At least 2.
He was
probably 3.
down 2 wheels. The entire cover of his engine was missing. He'd been banged up severely, yet was still running. That is the never say die attitude of Frederico Wagner.
He cannot be stopped by mortal weapons.
So it appears like Dave Slee has possibly parked it. He's dropping back at a pretty rapid rate. We know that he went off, and it appears that he has called it a day.
I don't really blame him, and he took off like a rocket. I assume that there was a skosh amount of impact to the wall.
Could be.
So it also appears that Cesar has gotten in front of Blade. Is that correct?
Yeah, we saw that when Joel Martinez went off the track, the Hello Kitty Mercedes. Andy took a bit of evasive action and let the Bentley through. John Pacheco under pressure from Dean Reimers, Mike O'Leary, and Brett Brooks. A lot more Mercedes than usual in the field today. We got what? How many is that? 1, 2, 3.
Nope,
4.
got somebody off again there.
No, I think that was just someone getting shuffled back. Although Ariel Zatoni is way off the track.
Oh damn! Oh damn! Oh damn! Oh damn! That guy went, I believe the technical term is cattywampus.
He appears to have held it and actually only lost 1 position, stunningly enough. But Lachlan Nichols passing him, but he's rejoined ahead of Dean Reimers. There he is actually to confirm that.
Did we mention that this round is actually hit to pass?
It is not hit to pass. Don't listen to him, everybody.
Next round will be hit to
Although
pass.
speaking
Oh
of hit to pass, there is a very impatient prototype.
The judges say no pass for you. Oh, never mind. We'll let you through anyway.
Indeed, one of the prototypes still working its way through the field. I believe that's Azar Alamore still coming through the field. In the meantime, Michael Leary putting the pressure on Lachlan Nichols, who's dropped back a couple of spots. So Lachlan's had a moment somewhere along the way in his McLaren.
I love that last shot where you can see the big roundabout, because it looks like cars are just screaming by, going to crash into the wall or something.
Absolutely. What were your...
Carry on.
No, continue.
I was going to say, I work with a guy named Lachlan, and he enjoys the Japanese animated features, so I refer to him routinely as Lol-chan.
Looks like Brent Brooks went off the track there, and he's lost a couple of spots. I also think I saw a car off. I don't know if that was him, but it appears he slipped back a little bit. Andy Blade on the charge against Cesar Morano. Question for Mr. Scott Nick. How'd you find Slovakia Ring? Was it a track you were familiar with, or... Because I know in the D3, D2 race, a lot of people did not really know this track before it had been announced for the calendar.
Yeah, we did it in the first championship I did with the ESR. We did it. It was the Porsche GT3 Cup series, so I learned it then. So I like it a fair amount. It's a fairly non-bumpy circuit, and yeah, no, I like it quite a bit.
I enjoyed it quite a bit, and shout out to Jurgen Walby, who helped me out with a little bit of setup things for the race, and I think really paid dividends. Andy Blade still on the charge against Mr. Cesar Morano, and they are fairly well clear of the rest of the pack, because the next car up behind them is Azar Alamore, the prototype. And they are putting the pressure on Mike McRacken for first, second, third, fourth place in the GTs.
That guy's an asshole.
Correct.
Absolutely.
I think I need to make a request. Who is it that has contact with the auto, what's that thing called? Co-pilot, co-driver?
Crew chief.
Crew chief, there you go. somebody needs to get in contact with the guy who develops that, and on like the day before April Fools, do like an update, air quotes, and it replaces all voice cues with just R. Kelly's Bump and Grind nonstop.
Oh God.
You have no choice; it just loops.
Andy Blade going down the inside of Cesar Morano and takes the position, I believe that is for 5th place in the GTs. It's a little bit hard to tell the rankings right now because some of the prototypes are still not really in their proper position.
I'm going to be totally honest with you. Every time you say GT, all I can think of is the GT Snow Racer. That's all that comes to my mind.
I don't blame you. It passes my mind every once in a while as well.
Can we have a race with that?
If someone could put that in the game, I mean, I would be down.
Mods.
Might need to do an R Factor mod for that.
I don't know what that means, but
It's a game. It's a racing sim very famous for being relatively easy to mod. It has a tremendous number of mods available for it.
You telling me we could do lawnmower races right now and we're not doing it?
There's a lawnmower racing game available.
Oh my God!
It's called Extreme Lawnmower Racing.
And we're not playing. This isn't a regular feature. What's wrong with you people?
This is a great scrap between you and Andy and Cesar.
Indeed. Andy was making jokes at this point that I had extra horsepower because my hoodie matched to my car.
I believe you should just put him in the wall.
The wall is really not close enough at most parts of this track to do.
I didn't say it wasn't going to take effort.
I'm just saying, like, to put him in the wall in some places might require losing more time than anything else. That Bentley always looks like it's just in a different class to the Audis, just because of how tall it is.
Mm-hmm. It looks like it's at least a quarter bigger than every other car.
Whoa!
It is huge.
That was a little bumpy there.
A little bumpy. Mr. Morano got out on the wide part of the track there, which is pretty common. You can see the green strips at the side there. Those are actually completely legal to use, but you will lose traction. Andy, a little contact between Andy and Cesar.
I expected at this point in the race you just start snaking all the way back and forth across the track and slowing everyone down.
I would never do such a thing.
Why the hell not? It'd be hilarious.
Because I would be losing ground to Mike Jeffries, who was the guy I was really looking at racing at this point.
Yeah, I guess that's also a thing.
Because I know that I'm not actually faster than Andy and Cesar. I'm not going to let them go for free. I mean, we're still gonna scrap it out here, but
Andy Blade with the inside outside. Yep, nope, not good enough. Oh,
it is good enough. I've lost the track.
Somebody's gone full farmer and is plowing a furrow.
And I have to rejoin in behind the battle for really what is the championship. I don't think that there's really any other contender in the GT Division 2 championship outside of these two men, but I could be wrong. Felipe Fajea in a pretty fierce battle with, speaking of champions, the man who will definitely be taking home the prototype title, Enrique. Oh no, it's not Hervas. It's Ewan O'Leary that they're fighting with. Damn it, O'Leary! You picked the same car as Hervas.
O'Leary? The old birthday candle trick from now.
Indeed.
Every time he does something, I'm going to reference Black Dynamite.
That's fine.
The old pie in the sky trick from now.
Is it always going to be from Nom?
Everything in Black Dynamite is from now.
I could have sworn there were a couple things.
No, well, he says a couple of different things, but every time that Black Dynamite bamboozles him, it's like a whatever from like that time in Nam. Because they were in Vietnam together. Also, if we can like mentally backtrack a ways, your boy Cesar Moreno pulled the slickest pass I've seen in a long time on Andy Blade a while back, and no one even brought that up. You people sicken me.
As Ewan O'Leary and Felipe Fajea do battle as they go through lap traffic, which is always interesting with the prototypes going through the GTs in lap traffic. You were going to say something, Mr. Scott.
Yeah, I've already forgotten what it was.
Oh.
I have that effect on people. I can appreciate that your boy's sporting the martini.
Martini car is very cool.
It's not Gulf oil, but it's booze, so...
Unfortunately, the Gulf Oil no one has taken the Mercedes Gulf Oil car in Division 2
Well,
or 3.
I think then we have to declare all these races invalid.
And,
I'm sorry.
And the Porsche driver, Mr. Scott Hutchinson, who was the Gulf Oil driver, has sort of disappeared. By the way, the two Aussies are running together, Dean Reimers and Lachlan Nichols. They are being lapped by the prototypes right now. And Ariel Zatoni is up on the tail of Mike McGracken in a battle for 12th place overall.
Didn't the model run the Gulf oil?
He's been running prototypes in the Invitational Series. It looks like just an orange and white car.
And also, I see no Beta Romeos.
A little bit like a creamsicle.
So what's the team livery you're running, Mike?
That is the Yakko Racing livery. I have no particular allegiance to the team. I just really like their livery choices, like at all times.
I see.
Is there also a Wacko and or a Dot livery?
There is, unfortunately, not.
Well, then. Disappointed!
Yeah, I think I recognize Andy Blade's livery. It's the, I think it's a Stevenson Motorsport who did run an IMSA with that livery, if I'm not mistaken.
You are correct. In the meantime, there, Andy Blade and Cesar Miranda putting the move on Michael Jeffries, and Ariel Zatoni trying to put the move on me. While there is also some prototype traffic and some GT traffic, because we're lapping John Pacheco while this is going on as well.
You can put all the moves on Mike you want. He's not easy nor cheap.
And Andy Blade going around the outside and then the inside of Michael Jeffries.
Yeah, they like that move. Oh, no. Oh. What happened there? Somebody went a little wide.
Looks like Michael Jeffries hit the brakes a bit late, almost made contact with Andy Blade, and just managed to avoid the contact.
Yeah, it's a very tough corner. You really got to slow down a lot more than you want to there.
There are a lot of corners on this track that do have that feel of like you're going through it and you're like, I've broken too hard, and then the next time you go through it, you're like, I have to go brake later, and then you end up screwing it up. By the way, Enrique Hervas has dropped from first place to third place. We didn't get to see what happened there, but he didn't pit. You can still see him in the background. Must have had a bit of an off, or maybe was held up by some traffic at some point. But he's the third prototype in your shot there, behind Andy Blade's car. Ewan O'Leary going down the inside of Felipe Fajea, putting the pressure on, and he is through, and is your new race leader.
Boo! I mean, yay! Oh no, I'm sorry.
This is really gonna work out for Cesar Miranda, I think, because I think Andy Blade has lost time in the process of getting lapped, whereas Cesar's largely letting the prototypes go just through on the straightaway, and that's not costing him time at all.
Yeah, sometimes just a matter where the prototypes catch it too. You know, depends on what turn and everything. So sometimes you just don't. Sometimes you're just unlucky with that.
Oh, I think for sure this was just a bit of luck on Cesar's behalf. Basically, just being caught on the straightaways. It's a great place to be caught by the prototypes because you just let them zip on past you. Whereas in the turns, it's a little harder. No matter how you really work it.
By the way, I have to say congratulations to Div 2-3. I think you guys. It looks like you have maybe up to 20 cars still racing. I think by this time in Div 1 we had lost. You know, probably a quarter of the field.
Oh, lots of carnage or just other problems?
I think a bit of both, but mostly people just dropping early. Wait, this sounds like a rant I went on today. Never mind.
Scott Knick is advocating for a rage quit penalty, so there you go.
Yeah, I think, yeah, we had a few drops, some maybe with decent reasons, some with not, but it's good to see Div 2-3 here with so many people still racing.
Yeah, we lost Alvar Cuesta Gomez earlier on. I think that was a technical problem, if I recall correctly. And then Dave Slee, we believe, had slammed into the wall and probably his car could not continue.
Yeah, we were missing Martin from yesterday's race. I guess he had a really high ping or something, kept making him drop. So that was unfortunate.
His problem, I think, was trying to record both the races and having too many connections at the same time. His ping, I think, spiked and that took him out. Not sure who is that driving the Corvette there.
Isn't it? Oh, no, never mind.
Oh, Guillermo. It's a Guillermo Brissett.
I know Darcy was talking about the Corvette yesterday, but he's obviously not in this race.
Yeah, well, he's not in this race, and he's not in a Corvette in the other race. He's driving a BMW M6, if memory serves.
Ah, well, that's the thing. Actually, he was given the allowance to switch. So yesterday's race, he actually was driving the current gen Corvette.
Not sure how I feel about that.
Yeah, I'm still driving my M6.
I think the M6 is not a bad car in any ways. It obviously didn't suit Darcy. I want to make that clear. But the only dispensation to change cars I was a fan of was Felipe Fejea changing from the Daytona prototype to the regular prototype. That's because we found the fuel mileage issue, where for those who were unaware, the Daytona prototypes, the larger prototype car, were using around 2.5 liters of fuel more a lap, and that was definitely a problem because they had the same size gas tank and they were having to make 2 stops when the other prototypes were having to make 1. So obviously a bit of a BOP problem.
Trying to find the lawnmower racing game on Steam.
Ariel Zatoni has at some point gotten around Mike Magasevic for 12th place overall, and if I'm not mistaken, that is 6th place in the GTs.
Does that feel weird referring to yourself in third person?
No, he does it all the time.
I do it all the time, yeah.
Sometimes he gets really, really drunk and forgets who he is.
Are we really going to start talking drunken stories right now? Because I have an arsenal.
Oh, yeah. No, trust me. I've put myself out there a few times.
Mike O'Leary.
2 times a week.
Mike O'Leary challenging Joel Martinez for 17th position. A bit of out of place for Joel, who's been honestly one of the fastest men in Division 3, and maybe just not overly familiar with this track or struggling with it, because the Mercedes is a strong car here, and he's not, as he loses a spot there to Mike O'Leary as he went into the pit lane, actually. Bit early to be pitting, honestly, for fuel. We still have 34, almost 35 minutes to go. That's a heavy load of fuel.
Yeah, maybe he short-fueled to start in the hopes that he could get ahead with it.
Could be. Short fueling at the start does give you a bit of a longer pit window, which can be handy. For example, I knew that my pit window was only like 2 to 3 laps just because of how the math worked out. I put in 95 liters at my pit stop, and the fuel size of the Audi is 115, so yeah, I only had like 20 liters to play with.
Which, if that's lubricant, then you're in good shape. But gas, not so much.
True.
I can't find any lawnmower racing game on Steam, but I have found Lethal Lawns Competitive Mowing Blood Sport.
I'm intrigued.
I am as well.
That seems like a needlessly long name.
I love the fact that it is needlessly long, though, and it's like $5.50.
We still got this battle for Australian pride going on here between Dean Reimers and Lachlan Nichols. Credit to them.
The winner gets promoted to New Zealander.
Oh.
Hey-oh! I'm gonna get angry messages.
So many angry messages.
Isn't that how that works? Is they just like New Zealanders are just premium level Australian people?
I don't believe that is the case, but I could be wrong.
They just start digging deeper and deeper.
So it looks like we know we saw Joel Martinez go into the pits. I don't think we've seen anyone else, although I think that John Pacheco just may have shot down to the pit lane in the Mustang. Lachlan Nichols still putting the pressure on to Dean Reimers in the battle for this is 8th place in the GT race.
I don't know if that's lag in the video, but I see a lot of jittery movement from these cars. Is that
this would be more lag? We are watching 2 guys from Australia communicate with a server in Canada, so
yeah.
It's going to get a little... Oh! Dean went... Okay, I think he just went in the pit lane. Dean Reimers and
I think that was like turn 4 or 5, wasn't it?
Maybe.
So unless he has a really strange way to get to the pit lane, I think that might have been an incident.
Yeah, that's an accident. I think you're correct, judging by the gap not expanding at a very rapid rate. Ariel Zatoni on the tail of Mike Jeffries with Mike McGracken just behind him. This is the battle for the last spot in the top 5 for GTs, currently held by Mike Jeffries in the Black Falcon Mercedes.
It'd be really useful this overlay would color code the classes or something along those lines.
Well, it's not terribly difficult because there's only 6 prototypes, which is first through 6th place there. They have finally straightened themselves out. Zatoni off the track and McGracken through. They finally have gotten the prototypes all together. The problem for the longest time was that the prototypes were still making their way back through the grid. Chris Raymaker is in the pit lane as well as Michael O'Leary there. You can see
Rainmaker!
You can see Raymaker dropping back in the pack from his previous position as class leader. He is in the sunburnt orange McLaren you see in the pit lane.
BC Lions car.
And he's coming out in behind Dean Reimers by the looks of things. Oh, nope, actually behind Brett Brooks. Just snuck out there ahead of the former class leader. So that puts the class leadership now in this battle here between Guillermo Brissett and Cesar Maragno. Battle of Corvette versus Bentley.
I'm refueling myself. No need for a pit stop, although listening to me pour this might make other people want to have a pit stop.
Apt timing as we are in the pit stop phase of the race.
Coming up on halfway, 30 minutes.
Yep, this is about when everyone should be considering a dive into the pit lane to do their pit stop. I'd say, I don't know, anywhere from here to about 24 minutes remaining.
I like that Valvoline livery. It makes me want to fucking rocket pop.
It is a very cool livery.
I believe Jules Grunion used to race at NADAC.
He did. It was him and... Oh, man. I can't remember who it was. Who his partner was, his co-driver. Oh, Renger van der Zand was there for a couple of races. I always remember Renger van der Zand for no discernible reason. I think I just like the name.
Yeah, well, Bill van der Zand was a premier of BC for a while. So that name does ring a bell in my head when I was a kid.
It is a fun name.
Van der Zand. If you're living in a Van der Zand, down by the rail. Oh my god, that guy went right in the wall.
So, no, the pit lane.
Oh, okay, never mind. I was like, whoa, that guy's rocketing off to his own death.
I believe Felipe Fejea has pitted. He's dropped back from the battle for the lead. That was Steve Carman we saw just go into the pit lane.
Carman and the Masters of the Universe.
And Mike McGracken losing a spot to Ariel Zatoni in the background as we join Andy Blade, who is hunting for Guillermo Brisset, who has lost the lead of the GT3 category to Cesar Maragno somewhere off camera. Cesar, of course, has won every GT3 race so far in the Invitational.
That's impressive.
I'm just going to go ahead and request that we release the McGracken. Not from a contract or anything, but, just unleash.
just unleash. Okay. Andy Blade and Cesar Maragno, by the way, were caught up in that accident at the beginning that saw a lot of carnage and fell almost to the back of the pack, and they are now up in first and third place in GTs, just to add to Scott Knick's desire to see more people press on after hardship, as he makes the move there on Guillermo Brisset, but I think Brisset is going to take it back on the switchback. Maybe? I don't know. Yeah, Brisset is going to hold this. So Corvette trumps Audi on this occasion.
That's another really tricky series of turns right there. You've got to know how to take just right. You really have to line up on the left to get speed out to come out. So.
Very much. There's if you have a car that has one of those Delta trackers and you're going through there, you will see some just crazy shit on how different a slight change in the line can be. Felipe Fajea making his way through the traffic here that is battling for second place in the GTs. Looks like Mike McGracken and whoever was in front of him going into the pit lane, that'd be Ariel Zatoni most likely.
I'm going to say I'm a little disappointed we don't get to see Alamore too often in this particular race because I don't get to make eel jokes.
Unfortunately, he's not been particularly close. Well, he is actually having a battle with, say, wait, I think that's a timing glitch, as to say. Him and Cesar Moreno are apparently side by side. That's,
yes, that's a little ridiculous.
Most likely not the case.
I mean, Cesar's fast, but I don't think he's that fast.
Well, I do believe Azar has also been in the pit lane, which Cesar has not.
Hey, there's a Gulf Oil!
Yeah,
you
but
lied
you're
to me, you
yeah.
son of a bitch.
I completely forgot that Steve the Carman, the cyborg, is in the Gulf Oil livery. By the way, the eel is in the background there of that shot.
Well, all my wishes are coming true, all in one go.
Alright, quick,
It's
eel
officially
jokes.
racing.
Go for it.
Yeah, boy, it's slippery around them corners. You gonna get out there and take it's time
Okay,
to bite
okay,
in
stop.
deeply into the track.
Just stop.
I had a lot, okay?
It was not nearly as good as I was hoping.
I was trying to get them all out at once. It wasn't working. Also had Carman jokes to do, and now they're all gone.
Jake Sorak heading into the pit lane as we get a nice view of the black and yellow. Not sure what team this is. Entry of the prototypes.
I cannot help but think every time his name comes up of either the Brack Show, starring Brack on Adult Swim, or Space Ghost, because there was Zorak on both shows.
That's true.
Which is why I refer to him as the Sassy Boy Mantis. Screw you! Replace screw with fuck and you're on the board. Fuck you!
Oh, Cesar Moreno, the class leader, is in the pit lane along with Guillermo Brisset, so Andy Blade inherits the lead.
Not Guillermo, it's Guillaume.
Guillaume
Brisset.
See.
Honestly, I hadn't actually looked at his first name up close until now.
You
My
uncouth bastard.
apologies.
As well you should.
Hey, if he had better attendance, I would probably know his name more.
Je non parle.
Speaking of
Oh!
attendance, what happened to our buddy Felcher? Feltzer? What's his name?
He never signed up actually for the invitational.
That sucks. I was looking forward to that.
I tried to actually say his name correctly, and I screwed it up.
Yeah.
Pulled a me.
That was the funniest thing, because after about the third time you got it right for the rest of the whole race, but I just kept correcting you anyway, and you're like, no, I got it right, didn't I? Maybe.
Guillermo Brisset winning the battle off of the pit lane with Ariel Zatoni. How did Zatoni get so close to him, though? He was not remotely close before they pitted.
He finds that French mountain very attractive.
So the question here is, and my best guess is, of course, some people change tires in the pit stop, some do not, depending on their tire wear and how their car is treating them. Is it possible the Corvette changed tires and the Mercedes did not? And will that come into play later on in the race?
Yes. Maybe. I don't know. I'm going to say that it's a distinct possibility.
Seems like the general strategy in at least Div 1 has been to not change tires under any circumstances. And actually on this race, I felt like maybe this was a time where maybe doing that, at least the fronts, would have been useful.
The front left specifically was very worn on this track. Very heavy load. Steve Carman working his way through the grid, and Lachlan Nichols trying to catch up with the Audi of Mike McGracken for 13th place.
Hey, there goes the Gulf Oil.
Yeah, I think the tire wear on this track in particular is the really high speed turns you get into, especially like turn, I think it's 3, where you pretty much just hang on for dear life as fast as you can around that turn. I would imagine that really is just scrubbing those tires like crazy.
I would imagine so, indeed. Michael Jeffries into the pit lane as one of the last stoppers, I think. as his class leader, Andy Blade. As he heads back out on track, where will he rejoin? Behind Chris Raymaker and Cesar Maragno in third place. Steve Carman, I think, had a bit of an off there because he ended up behind Lachlan Nichols. And now is going around along with... I don't know who that is he's racing against because it appears that he's either lapped them or is down a lap to them. Probably Enrique Hervas. I'm thinking of the list of drivers who could possibly lap Steve Carman, and Enrique Hervas and Ewan O'Leary are really the only two that can do
That is really possible. I'm going to go ahead and say that maybe Fahea as well, because he's right up there at the front.
That could be it as well.
Mathematically.
Lachlan Nichols appears to have won the Australian battle. Dean Reimers is back in 17th position. Just touching on the tires again, Dean Reimers changed his tires at pit stops, and the reason for that is he's a controller user as opposed to a wheel. And controllers have a known problem where they will wear their tires out much faster than the smoothness of the wheel.
Wow,
Do you refer to these people as controller freaks?
Psychotic's a better term.
No, but I'm considering it now. In the meantime, at the front, those who have been watching these races closely will realize there's something very weird happening, and that is Enrique Hervas is not in the lead.
This is unnatural, and I don't enjoy it.
He is trailing Ewan O'Leary with Felipe Fejea, Steve Carman, Jake Sorak, and Azar Alamore rounding off the prototype field. GT3s, it is Chris Raymaker leading from Cesar Maragno, Andy Blade, Brisset, Zatoni, McGracken, Nichols, Jeffries, Martinez, Brooks, Reimer, O'Leary, Pichea, and Wagner, I believe, are the cars still running.
This is one of the problems with this overlay is once you get back to ninth, there's no more time diff really between people. Well, there's less than that, yeah.
This is less of an issue with the overlay and more of an issue with the double classes, because the issue is that the prototypes have lapped. Well, they're lapping their own slower members at this point, and the problem is the gap there is to the leader, so it's always gonna.
That's true.
The GTs are all gonna end up lapped by the end of the race. There's just not really any way around that. So we are reliant on the auto director finding the battles for us, like this one between McGracken and Nichols for 12th position.
Put him in the wall.
That's
not a good tactic.
I believe this is the turn you were talking about with the high speed hang on by the seat of your pants.
Yes, absolutely. That's why that green runoff area is so large, because you can go totally in it, all four wheels off, and there's no off track on it.
Lachlan Nichols using a little bit more of that than Mr. McGracken. And the battle continues with Lachlan closing up very close to the Audi in front of him.
One thing I definitely noticed is that back at that turn, once I got later in the race, probably around now, there's no way I could take that flat out like I used to. I mean, the tire grip was just gone.
Absolutely. That's why I think on this track that I didn't end up changing tires, so obviously I'm not advocating the tire change strategy, although I was planning to change my fronts and just didn't, because I noted that for some reason during the race I'd actually managed to take care of them fairly well. It might be a good idea in tracks like this with those high-speed sweeper style corners, because if you can give it gas through there and your opponent can't, that's a huge advantage. Fajea, I do believe that is, working his way through the lap traffic.
Felipe El Caliente Fertata Fajea.
But anyways, going back to the overlay, I mean, if you exclude the 6 prototypes, we would be getting gaps down to 18th position. Because, okay, not quite that far, pardon me. Michael Jeffries is perhaps... No, I don't think Jeffries is down a lap, but people like O'Leary and Reimers and Brooks might be. But we would be getting more gaps, is my point.
I don't feel comfortable seeing this much of a gap between Hervas and the lead.
Indeed. It's also a growing gap. The last couple of laps. By the way, change in the GT leadership. Cesar Maragna has overtaken Chris Raymaker. And Lachlan Nichols looking to do the same to Mike McGracken, but can't seem to find a way through yet. They are coming up to the lapped car of John Pachea in the Mustang.
Yeah, it looks like Pachea's Mustang has a light out too, so I think he's been through some incidents.
He's been into the back of something, it would appear, or a wall. Azar El Amore, there you go.
Hey, your boy!
On the tack against...
And you go into the wall, that's more.
on the tail of the fifth place prototype, Jake Sorak. Another favorite of yours. Sassy Boy Mantis versus the Eel.
Indeed. Let's see who comes out on top. It's a battle of Mother Nature. And or cars.
Definitely cars. Azar going down, trying to go down the inside. Does he have a move here? He's ahead for now.
That looks like a pretty solid move.
I think he's through.
Like a move that's been made.
He is through. They do have the lap car of Michael Jeffries coming up. And it looks like there's maybe some connection problems going on in the midfield as someone is floating, as it were, for a bit there.
That's a mod.
Chris Raymaker is back on the attack against Cesar Maragna. They have pulled out a gap. I wish I could tell you how much it is, but you do not see Andy Blade in the shot, so he's definitely, I think, fallen out of contention for this race win, along with Brisset, who is back in fourth place.
That has got to be one of the most unadorned liveries I've ever seen.
It's very plain. It doesn't even have a number on it.
No, how did he get away with that?
Actually, what you're not understanding is that all of the extra livery stuff, it's just painted in the same color.
How'd they leave this car in the game and not the black carbon Corvette? Come on. Because I would pay money for the black carbon Corvette. Dean Reimers in a battle with Brett Brooks over 16th position. That'd be 10th place in the GT class. A classic rivalry, Audi versus Mercedes. Honestly, not sure if there is a bigger rivalry in all of motorsports than this, outside of maybe Honda and Toyota.
I hear the Daihatsu's making a comeback.
Looks like Cesar Maragna's been off the track, because we were talking about him having dropped Andy Blade like a bad habit, and Andy is right back on the tail, and I don't see Chris Raymaker anywhere. So, definitely an incident for the Bentley.
He's just so far out in front you can't find him. Is it weird that this big wide straightaway I expect more crashes than anywhere else?
Yeah, that's
it's a bit weird. It's a bit weird. There's pretty much, I mean, outside of the very start of the race, I don't think you should see any.
Maybe I just have trust issues, but when I see a lot of room like that, I expect drivers to be a bit dickish and try and make a bunch of moves, and somebody's going to go in the wall.
You do live in British Columbia.
Yeah, we have to deal with Albertans all the time. It's ridiculous. They're called corners and trees. Just get it together.
Called trees.
We have them. They grow up from the ground. They block wind from happening. Soil erosion. It's all good. They won't hurt you.
I mean, you are talking to a guy who got hit by a car in a parking lot, and somehow the driver thought it was my fault. So.
Yeah, well, my goal in life is if I see it coming, I'm going to do a double front drop kick right through his windshield.
Oh, I've done that to a couple of guys who... I walk to the bus stop in the morning, and every time someone does something stupid, I will slam my backpack into their car.
It's an empty backpack, though.
No, it's got heavy stuff in it.
No, that's just uncalled for.
Hey, if you have the money to run me over, you have the money to fix your Mercedes. That's all there is to it.
It's true.
No, it seems like Andy's got pace here. It just can't quite really get back up to Cesar.
He's gotten back onto his tail a couple times, but then has dropped back. Probably when he comes out of the... Because I've noticed, it could be just my imagination, but I've noticed the Bentley does give off a pretty solid draft. Problem is, of course, is when you come out of that draft, you end up getting slowed down considerably.
Yeah, here we come up on the straightaway shot that I love. If there's any cars going by in the background, they just
looks like they're heading directly into the wall.
Exactly.
That was a pretty sexy power slide by the Dean Reimers, but now he's not doing that.
Dean Reimers is catching up to Joel Martinez, having gotten past Brett Brooks earlier on, off camera. And plenty of time left for Andy Blade. We still have 11.5 minutes to go. And that'll be about probably 6 laps.
Let's make it an even 9,000 laps.
And Dean Reimers... Looks like we're just getting a beauty shot of Dean's car. Nothing wrong with that. It's a pretty car. But he is...
BC lines.
He is coming up to the Mercedes of Joel Martinez, the Hello Kitty distinctive livery.
If he gets past, do people legally have to say goodbye, Kitty?
Not legally, but we do.
That's a good question. Never thought about that.
We absolutely do.
Excellent.
I think it was about this time, last time, the Div 1 race, where I was incredibly concerned that my new little kitten was going to lay down on my power strip and shut my PC down completely.
Oh yeah, I remember reading that. Like, that is a concern, and you don't want to like yell at the kitten because then they get all crazy.
Well, then they just do it.
Mm-hmm.
You mean don't step right here? Right here.
Might I recommend applying a little bit of duct tape to...
Yeah, I needed my guy or something.
That's what I did. I had a similar problem, but it was a power bar next to my bed. You plug the lamp and the clock in and all that stuff. My cat would literally go in there and tread right across the power bar and turn shit off in the middle of the night. I was late for work like 3 days in a row. Just a little touch of duct tape.
Yeah, your excuse to your boss was, I'm sure, great and went over well.
I mean, it's better than my excuse for being late to high school a number of times, which was my dad turned on his stereo at 4 in the fucking morning and turned off my clock.
Yeah, that would be a problem.
Those who know me know that this is not a lie and not a story. Dean Reimer's going down the inside of Joel Martinez into 15th position, and he's going to start off renewing the Battle of Australia with Lachlan Nichols, who's just ahead of him in 14th place.
Does the winner get to avoid the second EMU War?
I mean, I feel the second EMU War is very much in the hands of the Australian government.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel that the loser of the Battle of Australia here should be drafted immediately into the service to have to deal with the second EMU War.
I'd be down with that.
Yay!
And people are complaining about penalties for quitting, really.
If anybody isn't familiar with the EMU War, you need to look that shit up. It's hilarious.
It is hilarious. We still have 20 cars running, I do believe, out of the original 22 that started the race. I believe Frederico Wagner is still running. It's possible that he may have retired at some point. He is 6 laps down.
No, are you kidding me? Retired from... You're kidding right now, aren't you?
He did retire from one race, but I believe it's because his computer shut down.
Yeah, see, there's no...
Yeah, it's a kitten as well.
Even he can't fuel a whole computer with just hatred.
Just hatred.
Yeah, no, I think he's still running.
I believe he is still running. He picked up a
5
lap,
instead of 6, yeah.
Okay, so he's definitely still running.
L'amore.
And we saw John Pichea, the other car that is a number of laps down recently. So presumably he is still out there. In fact, there he is in the background!
Yep, there goes a car right into the wall. Yeah, this is fantastic. I mean, 20 out of 22 are still running. That's great.
John Pache, or I'm not sure why we're talking. I don't want to talk about John Pache again. One of the prototypes making its way through Andy Blade and Cesar Morano's battle for second place there. That is Azar the Il Alamore. And in the background is Steve Carman, who is coming up on these as well.
Is it legal, because his last name is Blade, for him to affix spiky bits to his wheels and just puncture people?
Not legal, but he's also an admin.
It's legal in Canada, right?
Correct. In Saskatchewan, I think.
A lot of things are illegal in Saskatchewan, let's be honest.
Well, I mean, you can see it coming from a long way up, so it's not a problem.
That's true. There is tremendous visibility in Saskatchewan.
I don't think you're allowed to have a shooting range.
Oh, there's Federico's Wagner there in the background, actually.
Yeah.
Get him!
It does look like he's damaged his car, though.
He's running in the new Avia livery.
I do like the Avia liveries. They've come out with 3 of them so far: the Audi, the BMW, and I can't remember what the third car is. There's a third one in GT3. I hope that there are more coming, because it's a very nice looking livery.
Did you say BMW? I know it's one of them.
BMW and Audi were the first 2. They've come out with a third one since. I'll probably look it up after this and append it to the description of the video. Steve Carman off the track in the kitty litter there.
Well, ain't that a bit about a bitch?
Been a bit of a lackluster race for Steve Carman. He's down in 5th place. We know that he's fast over a single lap, but he just has not translated that speed to a consistent lap time in the races yet.
Well, there was one thing that Speedy and I noticed, is that Carman literally doesn't do anything except race and sleep. Maybe he sleeps, I don't know. But in the last couple weeks, I haven't seen him constantly playing the game, so he may be slightly out of practice.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, a problem with when you're playing a sim for an hour, it's just keeping concentration, and you at some point kind of start daydreaming, and then next thing you know, you're going off. So it just really got to stick at it.
Concentration, your body starts rebelling against you periodically. Dean Reimers is up on the tail of Lachlan Nichols. Battle of Australia is on. Which would be much more interesting than looking at this. Like, Cesar Morano versus Andy Blade is a very important battle. It's a championship battle and a battle for second place in the class. But this is much closer here, these 2 Australians going head-to-head. Lachlan Nichols versus Dean Reimers.
Yeah, you wonder how the guys who are doing actual live broadcasts of real racing really are able to pull all that together and in real time know who to follow and who to track. And it's a pretty impressive operation, I would imagine.
It is an amazingly impressive operation. Lachlan Nichols being a bit liberal with the green pavement. Nothing wrong with that. Dean Reimers a little bit more conservative, possibly having worse tires. We never know, but Dean's tires are almost always worse than the guy he's racing against.
I think he should just race with 8 tires on at all times.
Just double on every tire?
Yeah, it'll help.
Or well, you could also do the old T-roll from the... by the way, Lachlan Nichols very off the track. Maybe. Or
well, now he's up at 9th.
Now he's bouncing all around. Anyways, Andy Blade going past Felipe Fejea. It looked like Fejea was coming out of the pit, so perhaps his change to the Daytona prototype has not fixed his need to make that extra pit stop. Enrique Hervas is now 1+ minute behind Ewan O'Leary. I just want to let that sink in a little bit.
Yeah, he's definitely on fire.
He is the man to beat today. Fastest lap of a 1:49.3. In the meantime, Andy Blade appears to have lost the back end of Cesar Morano. And with a little under 3 minutes to go, I don't know if he has a viable comeback at this point. Ewan O'Leary, in the meantime, catching up to Brisset in the Corvette to put him another lap down.
I think that 90% of this field is drunk from the driving that I'm seeing.
I mean,
which I'm in favor of. I'm totally cool with that.
Because it's virtual. Yeah.
Yeah.
He does not advocate actual drunk driving.
No. I mean, not often.
Well, if you want to see drunk driving, you should have seen the admin race on New Year's Eve. Not that it was restricted to admins, it just mostly was the admins.
I was busy getting fucking hammered.
I actually won a race. It was stunning.
Well played. Did you just subtly put everybody in the wall?
I did at one point put Grant Patolo in the wall.
Nice.
Yeah, I can see why you went for that livery. That chrome and everything is really quite nice.
Very nice livery. Like I said, you just look up the history of Yakko Racing liveries. They've been in ADAC for a long ass time. I don't know if they do any other series, but ADAC GT Masters. And their liveries are always just, if nothing else, they stand out. You can pick the car out from a crowd.
They never won a race, but they look awesome.
I don't think they have ever won a race.
I also enjoy the fact that it says Derksechhi on the side of your car.
That's just Deckriff. That's the ADAC sponsor. All the ADAC cars have that. That's not unique. No disrespect to Philip Geipeller or Rahal Frey, who are the two drivers of the Yakko team, but yeah, their results have been relatively subpar.
Well, racing's a tough business, and ADAC has a very large field. So.
Tremendously so. They have 40 cars at various times. And of course, a number of those liveries are available in Raceroom.
Which is why I love the game in particular, because it really does bridge the gap between the real world stuff you can follow and everything. So it's pretty cool.
It'd be nice if they had all of them. That way you could do like just an ADAC liveried series, which you can do obviously with the ADAC 2013 through 15 packages, but not a lot of cars. Because, of course, some of the GT cars that are present in ADAC, thinking specifically the Lamborghini Huracan, are not available in the game.
Yeah, the Italians are a pain in the ass about that.
Yeah, the Lamborghini, the Ferrari. Although there are no Ferraris in ADAC, if memory serves correctly.
I think you're correct, as far as I know now.
I demand an entire field of Veyron SS's on racing slicks. And then
Michael O'Leary catching up to Lachlan Nichols, who, if you look closely, is missing his front end.
Dang, son. Whoa, that's probably how the guy went missing.
Yeah, so Lachlan Nichols, we saw him fly backwards off of the back in his fight with Dean Reimers. He's now back here fighting with Michael O'Leary, and has definitely damaged the car. We hope with contact with a non-car object, but you never know.
Little bump and grind.
It's a little bit hard to tell on the McLaren from the front that it's missing its front end, but from the sides it's very noticeable. And we have a battle here between Brett Brooks and Yoel Martinez, Mercedes on Mercedes. Hello Kitty car trying to go down the inside. We got also Lachlan Nichols versus Michael O'Leary. I think this is probably where we're going to finish the race, is watching these two battles. As we are at 0 time left, so this is the final lap, or possibly the second from final lap for some of the cars, because of the whole, it's the final lap for the leader. If you can get 2 laps done before the end of it, you can still get a second lap in.
I think the Greek Freak has a couple more laps to go.
Unfortunately, there's a time limit as to how long you can go.
That's actually been a problem, I think, with the multi-class racing, is the prototypes can finish so far up in front that even, I don't know about leaders, but certainly people mid-pack can end up not even coming across the finish line.
That's definitely true. That's true even in single class racing if you just have a car that's way behind. But it's definitely more prominent in the multi-class racing. Martinez has dropped way behind. Looks like the race is actually over. And that's the only other problem with like doing time races versus a lap count. Your winner, Ewan O'Leary from Enrique Hervas, Felipe Fajea in the prototypes, and in the GT3s, Chris Raymaker defeats Cesar Morano and Andy Blade. You can see the actual gaps between the cars there in that first column. Very nice. Also, the winner of Division 3 is Mike McGracken for today's race, followed by Brett Brooks and Yoel Martinez.
Let's see.
Yeah, that was pretty close racing up front there.
Not amongst the prototypes. There's a bit of a gap there, but
yeah, GT though. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Indeed. So, gentlemen, have a good night, and we will be back for the next round of the championship.
Gentlemen,